Bashpa nirudhavala loka nayana evam nija ramanaruna charanaravinda nudhyana parichita bhakti yogena paripulta paramalyada gambira hridaya radha vagda dishashna tam api kriyamanam bhagavat sparshyam na sammara. Tarya. By that. Uttam. In this manner. Avirata. Constant. Purusha. Of the Supreme Lord. Paricharyaya. By service. Bhagavati. Unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Pravardhanmana, constantly increasing. Anuraga, of attachment. Bhara, by the load. Dhruta, melted. Hridaya, heart. Staistilya, laxity. Praharsha vegena, by the force of transcendental ecstasy. Atmani, in his body. Udbiyamana Roma Pulaka Kulaka, standing of the hair on end. Otkantya, because of intense longing. Pravrita, produced. Pranaya Baspa Nirudha, Avaloka Nayana, awakening of tears of love in the eyes, obstructing the vision. Evam, thus, Nija Ramana Aruna, Charana Aravinda, on the Lord's reddish lotus feet. Anudhyana, by meditating. Parichita, increased. Bhakti yogena, by dint of devotional service. Paripluta, spreading everywhere. Parama, highest. Alada, of spiritual bliss. Gambhira, very deep. Hridaya Radha, in the heart, which is compared to a lake. Avagata, immersed. Dishana, whose intelligence. Tam, that. Api, although. Kriyamanam, executing. Bhagavat, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sapariyam, the worship. Na, not. Sasmara, remembered. Srila Prabhupada's translation. That most exalted devotee, Mahārāja Bharata, in this way engaged constantly in the devotional service of the Lord. Naturally, his love for Vāsudeva Kṛṣṇa increased more and melted his heart. Consequently, he gradually lost all attachment for regulative duties. The hairs of his body stood on end, and all the ecstatic bodily symptoms were manifest. Tears flowed from his eyes, so much so that he could not see anything. Thus he constantly meditated on the reddish lotus feet of the Lord. At that time his heart, which was like a lake, was filled with the water of ecstatic love. When his mind was immersed in that lake, he even forgot the regulative service to the Lord. Srila Prabhupada's purport. When one is actually advanced in ecstatic love for Kṛṣṇa, 8 transcendental, blissful symptoms are manifest in the body. Those are the symptoms of perfection arising from loving service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Since Mahārāja Bharata was constantly engaged in devotional service, all the symptoms of ecstatic love were manifest in his body. read the translation again. That most exalted devotee, Mahārāja Bharata, in this way engaged constantly in the devotional service of the Lord. Naturally, his love for Vāsudeva Kṛṣṇa increased more and more and melted his heart. Consequently, he gradually lost all attachment for regulative duties. The hairs of his body stood on end, and all the ecstatic bodily symptoms were manifest. Tears flowed from his eyes, so much so that he could not see anything. Thus he constantly meditated on the reddish lotus feet of the Lord. At that time his heart, which was like a lake, was filled with the water of ecstatic love. When his mind was immersed in that lake, he even forgot the regulative service to the Lord. So from constant devotional service, the heart melts into a lake. The mind is absorbed in that lake. The mind goes swimming in that lake. And then the body manifests the symptoms of ecstasy, so much so that one even forgets to do one's regulative devotional service. Which is interesting, because it was by doing his service constantly that these symptoms occurred. But gradually he became absorbed in the essence of that service, which was meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord. Aruna charana aravinda. Aruna means sunrise, reddish lotus feet. And therefore, the specific rules of the service, sometimes he would forget because he was absorbed in the essence of that service. So, of course, this is what everybody is looking for. Everybody, every living entity is looking for happiness. Yes? Anandamaya Bhyasat. And we're all looking for a happiness so great that we can forget everything. Sunyayitam jagat sarvam govinda virahiname. That the world becomes, it goes away for us. Yes? So many mundane love songs are like that. You know, I forget about the world. Nothing else matters. All I think about is you. A kind of madness of love, that one is so happy in love, so absorbed in love, that one may even forget the normal etiquette or normal behavior. Right? We see this even in our own relationships in this world. When we have very close friendships, very close relationships, we may even insult each other in affection. Isn't that a fact? Yes? Right? We may forget, like Arjuna said to Kṛṣṇa when he saw the Virat Rupa, "Oh, I'm so sorry that out of affection, I was joking with you sitting on the same bed. I was treating you as an equal. I wasn't following all the rules like the cowherd boys. You know, they don't offer their food to Kṛṣṇa in a ritual. You know, they don't say, idam navedam klim Kṛṣṇaya namaha. They don't do that. They just throw Kṛṣṇa the samosa. Sometimes even, now please don't try this with the deities, but sometimes they even take the vegetables out of the samosa and put jasmine flowers in and then give it to Kṛṣṇa, just to watch Kṛṣṇa make a funny face. So this is not the regulative principles of bhakti. Yeah? Right? This is not according to the regulative principle. Mother Yasoda tying Kṛṣṇa up. You are a naughty boy, I'm going to tie you up. You have to behave like a gentleman. This is not according to the regulative principles of bhakti. Right? Or Nanda Maharaj saying, Kṛṣṇa, bring my shoes. And Kṛṣṇa is carrying his father's shoes on his head. We don't put our shoes on the head of the deities. Can you imagine? Hare Krishna. But in great love, the devotee, the love is so great. And Kṛṣṇa enjoys this. We like such intimate relationships that we forget standard formalities. Now, this is what everyone is looking for, and ultimately we are looking for this, of course, in Kṛṣṇa. So again, we're looking at this progression by constant devotional service. There's a melting of the heart. Rupa Goswami describes this quite extensively in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And when the heart melts, the mind swims in this melted heart. And this shows up in the body. These are called the sattvika bhavs. And some of these are mentioned here. Hairs standing on end, tears coming from the eyes. Just these two are mentioned, but there's actually 8 different symptoms, depending on, Rupa Goswami explains how the body, Hare Krishna, how the body is interacting with different elements. So we're going to look specifically today at these sattvika bhavs. So often we use the word rasa to mean simply the sthāyi, the unchanging relationship between the jiva and Kṛṣṇa. And there are, of course, 5 primary sthāyi bhavs. What are they? Dasya, Shanta, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. And then there are 7 secondary sthāyi bhavs, right? Horror, fear, compassion, chivalry, wonder, comedy. So these are the secondary sthāyi bhavs. But rasa is not just that. I mean, even if we think of the material perverted rasa, if you have some friendship with someone, there's a certain feeling that we call friendship. Isn't that correct? I feel friendship. We know what that feels like. Or if you see some little child, some very cute child. Yesterday, my granddaughter was sending me a video of herself and her son, my great-grandson, who's almost 2. And the photographers say when a human being is 2, that is the essence of their cuteness. So she was saying, "Grandma, you should see more of my son than me in the photograph. He's cuter." I say, "You're also cute," she says. So we see some cute little child, and immediately we feel parental. Isn't that a fact? Yes? There's some feeling that you want to shelter, you want to care for. Right? When we talk to, right? It's our natural feeling. But that's not the only thing in rasa. So also in rasa, there's called the vibhav. Vibhav is what brings out that feeling. And vibhav has 2 subdivisions, alambana and udipan. Then alambana has 2 subdivisions. You don't have to remember all of this. Vishaya and ashraya. So alambana is the support, what supports our relationship. So what supports our relationship with Kṛṣṇa is Kṛṣṇa as the Vishaya. He is the object. He is our friend. He is our son. He is our beloved. And the Ashraya is another devotee who has a similar mood. The association of devotees, the effect of the devotees, is very prominent from the beginning of bhakti all the way to the highest stage of bhakti. And then the udipan, like Deepa is a light. Udipan means what increases that light. And this may be Kṛṣṇa's flute, Kṛṣṇa's peacock feather, Kṛṣṇa's beauty. So that's what stimulates it. Like our feeling of friendship is stimulated when we see our friend, we think about our friend, we hear the voice of our friend. Yes? And then there's the anubhav. Anubhav is what we do. We embrace our friend. We do some fun things with our friend. We eat a meal with our friend. We pick up the child, right? We dress the child. What we're actually doing. Huh? And then there's the vyabhichari bhavs. These are the changing emotions within our friendship. We may sometimes feel sad. We may sometimes feel excited. There's different emotions that mix with the friendship that come and go. And then there's the sattvika bhavs, which is what we're looking at today. This is the involuntary expression of our relationship. Like anubhav is voluntary, what we are doing. Oh, let's sit down and have a meal. And the sattvika, it just happens naturally. I just start smiling. I'm not thinking, I want to smile. We just smile. There's some symptoms in the body. And these sattvika bhavs are an evidence of an existing relationship. There's some evidence that there's actually a relationship. Something that happens of its own accord. Of course, a good actor could practice. All the actors in the theater, in the movies, they are very trained at how to cry when they're not actually feeling sad. They practice like this. And so it is possible, and of course, in every religion, not only in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, every religion, there are charlatans who learn how to practice acting very saintly and show the symptom of saintliness, and privately they are something else. But generally we can say these involuntary symptoms indicate a relationship. And these involuntary symptoms also move bhakti forward. We can think of this with an intentional act, just like, if a man loves his wife, he will bring her flowers to show the love that is already there. And by bringing his wife flowers, he also increases the love. Does this make sense? Yes? And of course, Kṛṣṇa is very pleased with these sattvika bhavs. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up? When will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? So the question may be asked, and Krishna Das Kaviraj asked this question, isn't this a focus on our own happiness? If the devotee is praying, when will I show these symptoms of love? You might say, well, you're Anandamaya Vyasat, you're looking for happiness, and so you're saying, when am I going to be happy? But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is obviously not thinking about his own happiness separate from Kṛṣṇa. That is not, he is in the, as Rupa Goswami explained, Sa'artha, where the happiness of Kṛṣṇa and the happiness of the devotee are completely merged. Krishna's happiness is my happiness. I don't have a separate happiness. So if we think about in our own relationships, what is it that makes us the most happy with someone with whom we have a loving relationship? Let's think about it. What is it that gives us the greatest pleasure in a loving relationship? That person loves us, isn't it? That we are a source of happiness for them. So love means the other person's happiness is my happiness, the other person's sorrow is my sorrow. Prabhupada said the difference between material life and spiritual life, in material life, you become happy at someone else's distress and unhappy at their happiness. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he gives the example that you hear your childhood friend has become a high court judge, and you say, "No, I knew him when he was 5. No way. No, I saw him sitting on the bench. Oh, they must not be paying him." You want to drag others down. Yes, and Prabhupada says spiritual happiness means when someone is unhappy, you feel unhappy for them. When they are happy, you feel happy for them. So when we see someone we love happy, that is our happiness. And even more so when we are the cause of someone's happiness. If I see you are happy and I had nothing to do with it, I'm happy if I love you. But if I am the cause, or even the catalyst, in some way I contributed to your happiness and I love you, that makes me feel very happy. Isn't that a fact? Yes? I give you a gift and you say, oh, this is what I've always wanted. I cook for you and you say, this is the best prasad I've ever had. I love this. Or just, you are with me and I'm so happy to be with you. Oh, I'm so happy that just by my existence, I can make my friend happy. I can make my mother happy, my child happy. So Prabhupada says in this story of Kṛṣṇa fighting with Jambavan, that Kṛṣṇa has all the instincts of a human being. So Kṛṣṇa, what he wants the most, I know he says, Patram pushpam pulam tvayam yome bhakta priyatati tadaham bhakti paritam ashnami prayatatmana. Give me a leaf of flower, fruit, or water. But I think Kṛṣṇa has enough leaves and flowers and fruits and water. Actually, Rukmini said to Kṛṣṇa, you cannot be poor because you possess everything. She said, or you could say you possess nothing because you are everything. So you could say Kṛṣṇa is the leaf, flowers, fruit, water. That's not what he wants. What is Kṛṣṇa looking for? That he can make us happy, that we are happy from him. The conditioned souls try to feel happy by Kṛṣṇa's energy separate from him. Just imagine I'm a guest in your house, and I am happy by the things in your house separate from you. I am stealing the things in your house to make me happy. Would that give you any pleasure? You want me to enjoy the things in your house, but with you. And mostly what you want me to enjoy is your company. So when Kṛṣṇa sees that, we just see him, and we're like, oh, Kṛṣṇa. Just thinking about him, we cry in love. Talking about him, our hairs stand on end. This brings him the greatest pleasure. Oh, I have brought pleasure to my jiva, my part and parcel. This makes Kṛṣṇa so happy. Therefore, the devotee is praying, let me have the symptoms of love to make Kṛṣṇa happy. Let Kṛṣṇa see that I love him. Let him see that he's the source of my happiness. And Kṛṣṇa Das Kaviraj explains, like when Kṛṣṇa sees the gopis, he gets so happy he becomes more beautiful. And the gopis see him becoming more beautiful, they become more beautiful. They're having a competition. Who can make the other happier? And they become more and more beautiful, and this goes on unlimitedly. It's saying this here in the verse. It was kept increasing more and more and more. Our material relationships do not do that. Right? On the wedding day, the groom is looking at the bride, and the bride is looking at the groom, and they are so happy. But they don't always feel like that after 10 years. In fact, I was counseling one couple that every time they looked at each other, they felt angry. No. We had to do a little exercise to reprogram them. I said, okay, don't look at each other. Now meditate on some time when you felt love for the other person, and when you're now look at each other. Reprogram the brain. So this is often the case with our material relationships, isn't it? Right? Even our parents, we may, I got to go visit my mother. Oh my God. She's going to ask me, when are you going to get married? I'm going to say, Mommy, I'm a brahmachari. I don't want to get married. But in those spiritual relationships, it increases, 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 increases. And it increases for Kṛṣṇa also. Anandam Buddhivardhanam, Bhaktisiddhanta says, that this means although the jiva is finite, the jiva's love keeps increasing. So these sattvic abhaves, they are evidence of existing love, and they increase love. And Jiva Goswami in his Bhakti Sandarbha, he quotes the 11th canto, chapter 14, text 23. Katam vina aroma harsham dravata chetasa vina vinada dashru kalaya sudhyad bhaktya vinashaya. Without melting of the heart, Here we're reading about Bharat, melting of the heart. Without melting of the heart, how can one's hair stand on end and tears come to the eyes? Same symptoms that we're reading today. Without hair standing on end and tears in the eyes, how can the consciousness become purified? So this is very interesting. Because we think consciousness becomes purified, then I have these symptoms. But it's also, I have these symptoms, and then the consciousness becomes more purified. It keeps going. Again, we see the order here. Engage in bhakti, the heart melts, the symptoms come, and the mind becomes purified in this melted heart. Yes? It increases. And this goes on eternally. It's not that you reach some point, materially there may be a mastery. You master the violin, or you master computer programming. And after a while it becomes boring, yeah? I've done that. What do we say? Been there, seen that, done that. Now I want to do something else. But spiritually it keeps going and going and going and going. And with Mahaprabhu, these symptoms would, of course, be very extreme. Isn't it? But there's one warning that is given in Bhagavatam 2.3.24. That if we want to enter into this always increasing ecstatic love, there's a nice verse. Or maybe not such a nice verse, I don't know. Whenever I read this verse, I become sad and frightened. Tad ashma saram hridayam batedam yad griha manayar harinam adeyai na vikriyeta yada vikaro netre jalam gatra rudheshu harsha. Certainly that heart is steel-framed, which in spite of one's chanting the holy name of the Lord with concentration, does not change even when signs of transformation take place, such as tears in the eyes and ecstatic standing of the hairs on end. So here we see it didn't quite work. Didn't quite work. One chants, one does bhakti, the tears start to come, the hairs stand on end, but the heart doesn't melt. The heart remains like a piece of steel. That is possible. It is not automatic that if I engage in bhakti, the heart will melt, the symptoms will come, the mind will be absorbed in the lotus feet of the Lord. It's possible to engage in bhakti, and that starts a little bit, and the tears come, and the hair starts on the end, and you think, yes, I'm advancing, but the heart doesn't melt. And one remains in material consciousness. One's mind is still thinking about the things of this world. He said this, she said that, he did this, she did that, this politician did this, they did that. There's this thing in the family, and this thing in the world, and this ISKCON leader did that, and this person, and one is absorbed in these things. One doesn't become absorbed in the lotus feet of the Lord. Jiva Goswami gives the symptoms of this problem. He says that one will lose faith in the process. One will start associating with people or things that damage one's faith. And I think one of the most interesting symptoms is that one will start to judge one's advancement instead of by a melted heart, because there's no melted heart. One will start to judge one's advancement by one's external achievements. How many books I've distributed, how many rounds I've chanted, how many aratiks I've offered, how much money I've donated, how much tapasya I've done, how many cold baths I've taken in the winter in Delhi. how many cold vans I slept in on traveling Sankirtan. And one starts to gauge one's advancement by these external things. And we see that our desire to enjoy rasa never goes away. We are anandamaya bhyasat. Prabhupada writes in the preface to Nectar Devotion, everything we do is to enjoy rasa. So if we are not enjoying this bhakti rasa, my dear friends, we will try to enjoy a material rasa. We cannot live without happiness. It is not possible. So if we are doing bhakti in such a way that our heart is not melting, then we will try to enjoy a material rasa. We may not recognize it as such, but that is what we will be doing. And I have practical experience in our Krishna consciousness movement, with myself as well, that if our heart is not melting, then we may try to enjoy the anger rasa, or the, horror rasa, or the fear rasa. We may spend our time being angry at other devotees and criticizing others. And in fact, Prabhupada says in this purport to 2.3.24, this problem is due to offenses. But we may take pleasure in our offenses. I am such a great devotee that I can find faults in everybody else. So we should examine what is the content of my mind and consciousness. What is absorbing me? And particularly, what is absorbing my mind and consciousness in such a way that my emotions and desires become involved? Do I feel very emotional and very enlivened about the politics of the world, or the politics of ISKCON, or what is happening with my family, or what is happening with my health, or my money, or my status? Is that what is absorbing my consciousness? And if that is the case, then we can go on doing bhakti externally for a very, very, very long time. And we may even have some symptoms here and there, but the heart does not melt. So what to do? What is the solution? Here it is saying intense longing. Yes, and also constantly with attachment. Yes. With deep meditation, immersing oneself. So a very simple thing that we can do to immerse ourselves in Kṛṣṇa is whatever captures us in this world. And the mind is always running to things in this world, correct? Am I correct? Yes? Constantly. That's its job. Think about this, worry about this, want this. Look at that and say, this is not me, this is the mind. And then go from there to something with Kṛṣṇa. Go from there to something with Kṛṣṇa. If someone has insulted us and that is bothering us, what pastime can we think of? Is there some pastime in the Shastra of Kṛṣṇa and the devotees where someone gets insulted? Pandavas. They were so much insulted, so many times, but especially in the gambling, Draupadi. Dhruva Maharaj, how he got insulted. What? Gopis, what? Oh, the gopis were insulted by Kṛṣṇa. Kṛṣṇa was insulted by Shishupal? Yes. Suppose you are having trouble with your family. Right? Your father is saying, why are you in the temple? Get a job. Right? Or you're having problems with somebody in your family. Can we think of something in the Shastra where there's family problems? Prahlad and Hiranyakashipu. What more? Huh? Dhruva again? Yes. What about Kṛṣṇa and Rukmi? That was a big family problem. Yeah. Right? So there's so many pastimes of Kṛṣṇa that we can go to. Or Ram and Kaikeyi. That was a big family problem. And then you start going to that. Start taking your mind to that. Whatever there is in life in this world, use that as an impetus to think of something with Kṛṣṇa. Just like the physician, what was his name, Mukunda? And he saw the peacock fan and he thinks of Kṛṣṇa's peacock feather. So whatever there is in this world that captures our attention, take that and use that to remember Kṛṣṇa. And then start going deep. Somebody's insulted you. And then start meditating on how was Draupadi insulted? How did she feel? How did Bhima feel when his wife was being insulted? Like, imagine how he felt, like the way we feel when someone is insulting us and we want to punch them. And we're like, I can't punch them. I think, how did Bhima feel? He wanted to get up immediately and tear out Dushasana's heart, isn't it? He didn't want to wait for some battle after so long. He wanted to break Duryodhana's thighs immediately. How dare you speak to my wife like this? And go emotionally into the Leela, and then you will forget how somebody's insulted you. It will not matter anymore. And if we do that, we will become like this. This is our goal. Of course, we should just add one caveat, that even Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very careful about displaying these sattvika bhavas. Generally, when the devotees were there from Bengal, he didn't display very much. Sometimes, like at the Rath Yatra, he had tears shooting out like a syringe. But generally, he only displayed when he was with his very intimate devotees. So, following Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, if these symptoms come to us by the grace of God, we should try to internalize them. I mean, sometimes the force is so strong. Sometimes we saw with Prabhupada, it was so strong that he could not contain showing some ecstatic symptoms. But generally, they should be experienced internally. So I was told to end at 8:30, but I was also told I could go to 8:45, so I'm a little confused. So I'm not quite sure, but at least we can stop the class here. We do have some books here if you're interested to get them, and I'd be happy to sign them. So this is a new book we've just published. This is a study book for Bhagavad-Gita. It is for ages 5 to 95. So if you're 96, you are not allowed to buy this book. And it is a focus on 48 key verses. There's also chapter summaries, questions and answers, and there's a QR code for free audio of the Sanskrit chanting to learn to chant the Sanskrit. So we've just produced this, and we have a special deal for this month. One book is $300, but if you pay $100 more, if you pay $400, we'll give you 2 books. So one book $300, 2 books $400. And then same book. If you get 2 copies of the same book, so if you want to get some to give as gifts. And then these books we've had before, I'm sure you've seen them. This is our Krishna Conscious novel. It just won an award for indie publishing. And this takes you from material life to Krishna Prema. It's written in language for the general public, so something you can give to non-devotee relatives or friends. But it's not just beginning subject matter, and also illustrated. This is what, $250, yeah? And then this little book on chanting Hare Krishna, some short essays on each of the offenses, very easy read, How to Get Free of Offenses in Chanting. This is 100. And then this is for the very serious students of bhakti. Raghunath Goswami's splendid instructions to the mind with Bhakti Vinod's prose commentary and song commentary. It has 120 illustrations and also color illustrations. There's also commentary here by contemporary devotees. This is 800, but this is a very deep study, and you can choose what parts you want to go deeper in the way it's organized. So we have these books, Nandagopal Jivan Prabhu, and so please support my publisher. So anyway, they're available, and I'm happy to sign a book for you. So do we have time for any questions? Okay. So anybody have any questions, comments, corrections, chastisements? Yes. Well, I know Krishna Kirti's here. I'm expecting him to chastise me about something. I'm just like waiting for him to say, you're wrong about this. No, seriously, very nice to see you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Mataji. My question is, sometimes I become so angry on other devotees that it is very difficult to face them, to see them. So what should we do at that time? What should I do at that time?
Okay, what makes the anger come up?
Means,
what kind of thing?
Means like they did something or I did something. I may not able to forgive myself. Why should I done it? Or why they have done this? So like
Okay, so with something some devotee did, can you think of something in the Shastra that is similar?
I didn't actually thought about it.
Well, let's think of it right now. Can you give me an example of something a devotee does that makes you very angry? No names. Don't give any names. Like what kind of thing?
Some bad words or some like that.
Somebody said some bad words, some insulting words.
Yeah.
By the way, do you know why we become angry when we are insulted? Does anyone know? Why does that make us angry? False ego, but it's actually, if you understand this, it makes it much easier. We get angry when we are insulted because we are social beings. We are herd animals. And a lot of our access to resources depends on our status in the herd. If people disrespect us, we may not eat. You understand? It's a very biological thing. If you understand this, you can get some detachment from it. It's something wired into the mind for our physiological protection. Like animals that fight over territory or something, you know? And just see, that's all it is. It's something in our biology for our physiological protection. That insults make me angry. And it's stated in the Bhagavatam that insulting words, they hurt the heart more than physical arrows. Yeah? Okay, so let's think of something in the Shastra. All of us get insulted, yes? Everybody gets insulted? Anybody here never get insulted by anybody? You never get insulted by anybody. I know that that is not a true statement. Hare Krishna. Our warrior you are such a warrior in the battlefield. You are getting insulted all the time. So what is there in the Shastra that someone's getting insulted with harsh words? Can you think of some example? Shishupal.
Even Kṛṣṇa from
Duryodhan to Kṛṣṇa. Okay, well, let's pick one. Want to pick Shishupal? Yes, with Drupad and Dronacharya. Whoa, that's a really good one. Let's take that one. Let's take Dronacharya, right? Where Dronacharya was insulted by Drupad. They had been childhood friends. Childhood friends. Yes, and when Drupad became a big king, he thought he could insult Dronacharya. And because of that, Dronacharya sent his students to fight King Drupad. Yes? And Drupad was defeated by the Pandavas. But then Drupad felt insulted. And so Drupad decided he wanted to kill his old friend Dronacharya. And so he did a yajna to have a child who would kill Dronacharya. And from that yajna, of course, came Draupadi, who was also instrumental in the whole battle. And from the yajna came Drishtajumna. Have you forgotten about your insult now? You're still thinking about it. Or are you thinking about Drupad and Drishtajumna? There you go, and you've forgotten all about your own insult. You understand? And if you keep going deeper and deeper and deeper into the lila, you will start to feel rasa. You'll start to become absorbed. Oh, look what happened with Drupad and Dronacharya and Drishtajumna and Draupadi, and the whole story will start unfolding, and your mind will go deeper and deeper and deeper. And then you'll understand, oh, this anger at this devotee, that is just biological. It is a biological reflection of rasa. And what about forgiving yourself? You were saying sometimes you get angry at yourself. Yeah. Okay, tell me something in the Shastra of somebody who had trouble forgiving himself and was angry at himself. Arjuna on the battlefield. And then go deep into the Gita. What's another one? Bharat Maharaj, after this story goes on. Yes. And how he regretted so much taking care of this deer. And then he became so determined. I'll not even speak. I'll pretend to be deaf, dumb. Yes. And then go deep into that. I was thinking about Dasarath. Dasarath, he accidentally killed that Brahmin boy. Yes, and when Ram was banished, Dasarath is lying blind on his bed. Kausalya and Sumitra are there. He didn't let Kaikeyi be there. And he's crying. I've killed this boy. Now I'm separated from my son, Ram, 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 Ram. And he died. And then you'll feel rasa. And then you'll forget about your own guilt. And your own self-hatred and your own, which is all tamagun. Yes? So practice that, and pretty soon you'll be absorbed in Kṛṣṇa, and then everybody will want to be with you because you'll just talk about Kṛṣṇa. When someone insults you, you'll say, yes, Draupadi, was really hard. Nobody would help her. She was alone. It was hard. Okay? Is that all right? Okay. So I think we should end here because, we'll take one more in the back. Yes? Try it. I'm going to challenge you. Today is Tuesday. Right? Just make a determination. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. 3 days. You're going to try this. When do I leave? Today's the 31st. You can tell somebody after 3 days, how does it go? Try it. It is a fact that anger particularly comes like this. That is given in the Bhagavatam in the 6th canto with the Prachetas, who were great devotees, by the way. I mean, they saw God personally. But when they came out of the water and saw all the trees, they just went, burn them. Burn those trees. And it says in the Bhagavatam, in that lila, that anger suddenly falls from the sky. We've all experienced this, right? we're fine, and then kill them. We're like, whoa, where did that come from? But it doesn't really fall from the sky. Bhagavad-Gita 2, 62, 63. Anger does not really fall from the sky. It seems like that. Contemplating, attachment, lust, anger. There's 3 steps first. Contemplating, attachment, lust, then anger. Now, it can happen so fast that it seems like it's just anger. And we lose our intelligence, we lose our memory, we act like a fool, or we think like a fool. Anger makes fools out of everybody. But there is a little space in that contemplation, attachment, lust. There's a little choice point. Therefore, Kṛṣṇa says, and he doesn't end with 263. He says 264. Do a mental discipline of freedom from attachment and aversion, a physical discipline of regulating the senses, and then you get the prasad of the Lord. And when you get the prasad of the Lord, then you become happy and peaceful. So Kṛṣṇa is saying there, just become free of attachment and aversion, which is what I was talking about with the biological piece, where you move back and you say, this is just biology. It's just body chemistry, something that's put into the body by Lord Brahma for my physiological protection. It's not me. But we are not just Gyanis. We're not just Gyan Yoga or Dhyan Yoga. We're not Buddhists that just are interested in attachment, free from attachment and aversion. That's there. It's part of our process. But we want to go from this neutrality to absorption in bhakti. And our way of becoming free from attachment and aversion is to take our mind to Kṛṣṇa. All these emotions that we feel in this world about this and that, many of which we disguise as Kṛṣṇa consciousness, by the way, are meant for Kṛṣṇa. So practice giving them to Kṛṣṇa. And he promises, then you will get his mercy. He'll help you. Daiviyesha gunamayi mama maya durachaya mam eva ye prapadyante mayam etam turantite. Yes, durachaya, it is impossible, practically speaking. Right? Mamai vamsa jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana manashastra nindriyani prakriti tani karshati. Such a struggle we have with the senses and the mind. It seems impossible. And Arjuna says, I think I'm forced against my will. And Kṛṣṇa says, you know, you're not really forced against your will because it's lust. So take the lust and turn it to love. And we're sadhakas, therefore we have to practice. Abhyas yoga, repeated practice. And as we do this, it will gradually get easier and easier and easier and easier and easier. And pretty soon we will be at the stage where automatically anything that happens in the world brings us to Kṛṣṇa. Are you willing to give it a try? Or as they say in the UK, are you willing to give it a go? Okay. With confidence, Kṛṣṇa will help me. He'll be so happy that you make a little, what does Prabhupada say? One step towards Kṛṣṇa, how many steps does he take toward you? 10. The demigods say, the boat of the lotus feet, here we have Bharat meditating on the lotus feet, the boat of the lotus feet to cross the ocean, you don't even have to get in the boat. You just approach the boat and the whole ocean becomes a puddle. We look at the ocean and say, this is so hard. This is about Bharat. It's not about me. I can't do it. The anger falls from the sky. I can't do it. Just approach. You're on the other side. You're like, wow, I'm thinking about Kṛṣṇa. How nice. Is that all right? Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.